Welcome, everyone, to another episode of SaaS Stories. Today, I'm joined all the way from California by Nik Froehlich, President and CEO of Saritasa. Welcome, Nick.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Now, pivot moment for you in the world of SaaS. We had a conversation before we hit the record button. You ran a successful construction business for over 20 years before Saritasa. What was the moment you realized technology, not concrete, was where you needed to be?
Um, yeah, I don't think there was a moment necessarily, but I used technology in that business because I enjoy technology, and and through that time, people saw other people I knew that owned businesses. They saw how I was using technology, and they asked me to um, help them or ask me what I was doing and that kind of thing. And that led me to start to help them discover what they needed. And because I could speak the language, I think to developers, I could hire somebody and I could explain to them very clearly of what was needed. I could bridge that gap. And I don't think it was my calling to be in that in the construction business necessarily. It was very successful, but this was a fascinating switch for me because the construction stuff I was doing is more a commodity, and more people entered the market, and it was just getting more difficult to remain profitable. And I knew that technology was always going to uh, well, I knew that every business would have to embrace technology at one point, industry by industry. The first one that I think was affected the biggest was the travel agency. I mean, they just overnight they were gone. I mean, before that, you'd have to call a travel agent. That's the only way to get a ticket anywhere, right? So I knew that the demand would grow. So every business, retail, eventually would have to utilize technology, number one. Number two, I also know that technology would constantly be changing. So it wouldn't be very easy for these business owners, which are really focused on their business. It would be difficult for them to keep up. Um, and 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 they would have to hire people or consultants to help them navigate, these new technologies. Like when the iPhone came out, this retail business is not going to hire developers to build them an iPhone app, right? So now we have a growing market. Everybody's going to have to use it. Number two, it's constantly going to be changing, so the barrier of entry is a little higher. You have to have experts, and also that it took a special skill to understand what you wanted from technology or the efficiencies or whatever it is, and being able to speak to developers in a way that they understood. And I knew that I had all three of those. My 20 years experience of working as a business and sales and administrative and processes, I really understood the needs. And because of my passion for technology, I could speak the language, and said, and I saw the demand. So I just started doing that, and it turned out to be very fruitful. There's a lot of demand.
Mm,
So
For sure.
yeah,
That if there's one thing that's certain in this world, it's change. And I think there's
yeah,
been so much change, especially with technology, especially in the world of SaaS and definitely in recent years as well. But
yeah.
you started this consulting firm back in 2004 before there was a big SaaS boom. So when you were speaking to clients back then, what did you have to convince them of then versus now? What were the fundamental differences?
Well, you're right. There was very little SaaS. It wasn't out there. Um, you basically you still had to buy off the shelf products. Even QuickBooks, your accounting. I'm not even sure if they had it back then, but it was a downloadable, right? It wasn't even QuickBooks Online. Now accounting software, that's pretty easy because it's almost the same for everybody. But um, there weren't products just for that were specialized for every business workflow. And so most of the people that came to us initially said, well, we want to optimize this, or, we're doing this repetitively, or we'd like to store our data that we can look it up and get rid of the filing cabinet. Very simple things initially. So it was all custom. And it was the early days of software development where it really started to spring up, where there were more developers and you could start doing that. You could start writing custom software. More languages came out that made it easier to write software. So yeah, the early days is all custom stuff. There really was no SaaS alternative, or maybe there were in, enterprise, or, I'm sure that, SAP was out and different ERPs, but those were for large corporations.
Yeah. It's so different in the world we live in now, which is AI. And, a lot of players are kind of coming into it and thinking they can probably do their own custom code. How are you finding the clients that you speak to now? Is there a completely different need? Are they doing, doing it themselves with AI, or are they still very much needing help with custom codes?
Well, AI is very new and the jury's out really where, um, the where it's going to land exactly. I do see people experimenting a little bit, but it's not ready for prime time for our customers types that really don't know how to architect something. I mean, the AI coding stuff has to be used by really smart people to create a commercially viable product. I mean, you could spin something up that maybe works, but that's not going to be commercially viable, scalable, maintainable, that type of thing. So I don't see I see interest of people thinking that, you know, so, the question we've been dealing with for the past, I guess, 10 years mostly, um, post iPhone. I mean, there was that the mobile app thing was kind of crazy when that came out, because that was new. We were very early to the game. That's not a SaaS product. That's always a custom build. And but that people still build those. But we dealt a lot with the build it custom, or use a SaaS product, and we still get that a lot. They
Yeah.
come to us and which do we do? The AI, it's still pieced together. I don't think nobody's no I can't imagine somebody replacing a SaaS product that does a whole CRM and all that by vibe coding something. That's gonna I mean, even with our development teams, we can't do that without, I mean, you can have a little bit of productivity increases. Maybe documentation would be easier. Maybe some QA would be easier. But I mean, that's nobody's, not today anyway. They're not going to create
Mhm.
their own business processes. So I think today it's still, is there a SaaS product that fits our needs? What are the pros and cons? Or do we build something tailored to us that takes advantage of our competitive advantage over somebody else? And does that make more sense?
Yeah.
And then, so that's from the person using the product. Building a SaaS product and building a business around a SaaS product where you're the owner, that's a whole different story with its own pros and cons. I can speak to either one of those, but they're completely two different sides.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I don't think AI is quite there yet, especially if you're working in the world of B2B, providing custom solutions to, really niche products. Let's just say, for example, clients that I work with will create like a simulation SaaS around the world of mining, underground mining, where they kind of go in and figure out, how profitable is this project going to be. It really does require the expertise, the industry experience, all of that. And yes, AI can help with productivity, but I just don't see, someone without that experience doing that. I think the other issue would be security, right? ISO. I don't think, your average coder using AI would know the nuances of keeping data secured. Is another example. Um, Coming back to growth mechanics for the business. So you've been in Saritasa for a long time now, and I think in the early days there was definitely a need for that custom code. But as time went by, you probably found yourself having a lot more competitors over time. So I'm curious. You've grown offices in multiple US cities. What led to that expansion? Was it market led? Was it client led? Was it sales led? What was your scaling strategy that really helped you take off in business?
Prior to COVID, um, we had an office in Newport Beach, California, and every single deal we did, every single client would come into our office. We had one, two, three, four um, conference rooms where clients would come in. We spent money on a really nice office so they could see that, we're not a small little um, uh, shop where, we wanted to appeal to the right size customer for us. And everybody wanted their developer to be local. That was a requirement. I couldn't get a deal. I mean, even as far as Los Angeles, which is a 45-minute drive north, or San Diego, we tried to attract clients from that, and that was just too difficult. It's too far away, right? Um, so we did want to grow, and prior to COVID, we said, okay, let's use the same model, everything, and let's pick a big place. Let's go to New York. So I took, my best sales rep, my best tech engineer, or the sales engineer, um, project manager, and uh, we got an office out there. I think we started with 5 people, and the customers, again, they would come to the office. And we were building that business. It was going pretty well. So we were just modeling after that. Um, and we actually opened one in Chicago. We smaller, just a couple people, but same model. So we said, okay, this is how we're going to grow. Well, COVID changed things a lot, and we all learned very quickly how to use video. My sales reps hated it. I mean, they were just like, I can't sell over this, right? And we had to create rules, and I mean, it was early days, right? And but something happened. Um, the it opened up a market for us because I could meet with a CEO of a company, a mid-sized company, and he's sitting in his ranch, with his deer antler thing and his gun back there and his thing, and he's at home talking, and we can have our team on there, and it didn't matter. All of a sudden, it just opened the door for us, and we didn't need to keep all those offices, those physical locations open. And a few of our employees, they wanted to relocate, someplace where they could afford things a little easier. And so I think that's what did it. It turned out to be good for us. And then, in addition to that, I think in 21 and 22, there was a surge in demand for software, custom software. And I think COVID drove that too, because they had to facilitate people working from home on the computer and having all this. I mean, they had to do something. So we saw a big surge in modernization during 2001 and 22. So I think those things all combined it. So I'd like to say that it was something else, but that's kind
Yeah.
of did it.
Just good time in the market, I suppose. I too remember
Yeah.
those days. They were good for software. Everyone was going online. It was so normal to be on Zoom calls, team calls, webinars. I do feel like we're a little bit exhausted from that at the moment, though. Do you find that human interaction and in-person events and maybe coming to an office for a client is becoming a bit more valuable again?
Yeah, I'm seeing it more and more. We have two offices now. Our original one in Newport, we've downsized. It's not as big anymore. And we have one in Tampa, Florida, where we have people that come into the office. Um, Anybody, most everybody that works for our company has been here 10 plus years, or at least most of the people. Um, and some of them enjoy coming into the office. They don't want to work at home. They have kids at home. I mean, they're just regulars there. They would like
Relate to that.
everybody to come in because they want more activity there. But there's others that have been with me a long time, and they're just as productive at home, and they prefer that. They don't want to come in. But we're noticing now that customers are coming in more often now. They're making an effort. They come into the office, so that's why we have those offices. Um, and they'll fly out now. We'll have a customer that wants to see us. They want to see our operation. So yeah, we're seeing more of that.
Yeah. And so from a marketing standpoint, it sounds like there was obviously a lot of demand and you were just easy to be found by a lot of these customers, or perhaps it was sales led where a lot of salespeople were calling up the right people at the right time. Are you finding things like SEO perhaps worked well? Like you were ranking up high when people were searching for you. And have you noticed that change with now people using they call answer engine optimization, as in using AI to find businesses? Has that changed anything?
Well, it is changing. We relied primarily on search, SEO and paid search. And in the early days, it was much easier. There was less competition. Um, it's expensive now. It's difficult to make that work. There's a lot of competitors. We are um, um, working hard on figuring out, how when you ask Grok or Chat GTP, to find us a developer that does this, that we show up, and there's our marketing department spends time doing that. They really haven't rolled out, or we haven't seen it yet, or not mass rolled out advertising on those platforms yet. I know they're doing it. I'm starting to do it. And I think that's the way it's going to go. But again, so we track everything that's coming in, and I see a lot more leads coming in through that. But as far as our Google search strategy is very evolved. It's very sophisticated. We spend a lot on it. And this is new territory on how to track and stuff. They're rewriting the rules a little bit, and they're going to continue to do so. So I'm not sure. It's a
Yeah.
great question.
It's an
I'm in
interesting
uncharted
one.
waters a little bit with all this stuff. It's uncharted.
Yeah, we all are. We all are.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating for me. I started my career in Google Ads, and at the time, we were paying $2 per click, and we were delivering multiple leads per week to all the clients. It was so easy. It was such a
Oh
game
yeah.
changer. Having come from the world of TV media, where you'd pay $50,000 for a prime time ad, and we hope the right people saw that. So it was
Yeah. Much
really
different. Right.
so different. But now we've actually, for ourselves, we've turned off Google Ads because we don't see any value in it. You're paying $50 per click now, and you're still getting people at the awareness stage. And so a lot of the people that we speak to and our clients speak to, they are actually coming from AI, and as well as SEO. I think it's very difficult to make paid search work in this day and age, which is a shame. But again, constant change. We just need to evolve with the times.
Yeah, we sure do. Yeah. So yeah, we're definitely experimenting with those changes. Even how our content on our website, we're writing it differently to appeal to not the search engine optimization as much, but we're appealing to the LLMs that
Yeah.
are searching, anticipating, how people type in the question and stuff. And really we're trying to appeal to those LLMs. So we're the most, I don't know, relevant. It's a form of
Mhm.
SEO in a way, but again, different rules. We don't know what the rules are.
Yeah. where there's a lot of experts that claim they do, but I think it's just
Yeah.
trial and error at this stage. What's
Yeah.
exciting me about it is that in the world of startups, so SaaS startups, when they would typically come into the market, they would have to do something like paid search because it was very hard to rank up high, when you're competing with all the giants that have been around for 20, 30, 40 years. But now with AI, there is actually ways, because I do see it in when I ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude, they do actually recommend startups and other businesses. So it's really interesting. I think it's really opening up a world for the smaller businesses and the startups to compete better.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'd like to uh, figure out that the magic juice there to do it. Like I said, we do a lot, right? We depend on a lot of volume, but maybe yeah. So we're transitioning, but maybe we don't need as much volume because it's the search is so much more specific and directed, right? Yeah, because we still get paid leads. I wish I could get them for $50 a click, but they'll call us up and
Oh,
they say, "Oh, um, I need help restarting my Android phone." It's like, how the heck you know, did you read our ad even? Did you even look? I mean, a lot of junk.
yeah. Yeah. It's a shame. I would love to figure it out too. Well, I'm on a mission to do so. So yeah, let's keep
Good.
chatting once we do.
Sure. Yeah.
um, the hardest problem you've solved for a client. So without naming names, or you can
Right.
if you'd love to, but walk us through the most complex challenge a client brought you and how you approached it.
The most complex. We had this client, and they were a division of a large international company, but this particular CEO owned the California territory, local here in Southern California, and their business processes. They sold uh, big um, big equipment that was custom built for projects that had this whole workflow of estimating and um, sourcing together parts and then estimating that and then delivery. But they were all they were still emailing spreadsheets with tabs on each department that would copy it over, and it was very frustrating for him because he wouldn't know how much money they made on a project until a month afterwards because, you estimate it. Oh, and the sales reps would just copy and paste, their old proposal where, they didn't update the prices because they were lazy. And then the engineer would actually source the parts and stuff. And when it was done, they had to, put all that in a spreadsheet and figure it out. And he wanted more real time. So um, we spent a considerable amount of time at their location with each department, going through and trying to understand their business, exactly how it flowed. Um, and he was hands on. He'd come to our office twice a week and spend 2 or 3 hours with us, flow charting and working through screens and bringing his team over there and trying to get consensus of how they're going to make this major switch over. And we had to integrate with the corporate entity that had, all the parts and all this and their ERP systems and stuff. But um, we were successful with that. That was great. It was really good and transformed his company. Um, in fact, they it was so successful that the other um, divisions across the U.S. they saw that and they wanted to use it. And but corporate didn't like that. Um, so because they liked Salesforce. Yeah. And ours was designed from the ground up to do exactly what they wanted to do. And Salesforce, they have great salespeople and everything. They said, yeah, we can customize anything. And um, I mean, so much more. I mean, all he had to do is pay us the maintenance costs and he could add things anytime. Oh, we need this feature. And it was simple to do. But they were enterprise and they weren't going to deal with a company like us. And they did two Six Sigmas. That's a I'm not familiar with the Six Sigma process. It's a management process of making a decision of this stuff. And both times, I think you have to graduate business school or something to understand what that is. But it's a Sigma, Six Sigma.
I've never
I'm
heard
sure
of
a
that
lot of your,
either. But
yeah,
I've heard
if you look it up,
a lot of my clients have said, I feel like I need a PhD to use Salesforce. It's not
yeah.
very intuitive.
So we both times it came out that we should be using the Saritasa, the thing that we built, but eventually corporate just said no. They signed a huge, license agreement with Salesforce and hired the people, and they rolled it out everywhere. And but it was very successful. They bought out the guy that built this one. They had a right to do that, so they just took it over. So that was challenging. It was, when I say hard, challenging all stakeholders and everything, but it was very successful. And but in the end, Salesforce, he ran it for about 4 years and very successfully, and then they just scrapped it and went with Salesforce. So yeah, we're very
So
proud of it though.
for sure, it's an interesting origin to that story. It's very relatable because
Mhm.
we usually when I speak to clients, one of our questions is, well, who are your competitors? And most
Mhm.
of the time they will say Excel. And I'm like, okay, so they're not using other software. They're literally using a spreadsheet to, keep all the data, make sense of it. You know,
Another one is
and then,
Access, Microsoft Access. A lot of people built their databases on that, and they're all like, okay, we've reached the limit on this. How can we add this functionality? I said, look, we don't work on Access. We're not going to build on this. You have a choice. I mean, you're going to have to, to modernize. You're going to have to use a modern technologies and platform to do something, or find a SaaS product that does what you want it to do. That makes financial sense.
yeah,
And most of our clients, they do compare us to. I mean, they're and some deals we lose. They say, no, we decided to go with off the shelf, which means a SaaS product. That's what they say. Um,
yeah,
or or they're afraid of um I guess they're afraid of being
change.
beholden to a SaaS product that um so some for some people there's a control issue, right? The
Mm.
data, the costs, the feature availability if they want something. Um and
And even just learning something new, they just
oh
don't
yeah.
want to. So I think that some of the
Yeah.
issues are with change management and just trying to get lots of people to commit to one software. And they're like, oh no, no, we just want to do it how we've always done it, even though
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, you have to do that either with SaaS or a custom build because it is change for anybody. But I think with the custom build, often if you do it right, you can make the users the stakeholders because they're building it. So there's that sense of ownership a little bit. Um, so again, I think it's different for every company and size of company. That you can't build custom software if have a small budget. If you're um, a $10 million company, I mean it's going to cost you. You got to start somewhere, and SaaS products are great for that. I mean, you can get in pretty um, quickly and inexpensively to see if it fits your workflow, and you can grow from that either. Um, and who knows? A lot of these SaaS products are starting to incorporate AI in that, and it'll be interesting to see how flexible that is if it allows licensees of SaaS products to adapt the product more easily than depending on the release schedule. Oh yeah, we're going to do that next year sometime, as opposed to, I don't know if that's going to be possible, but that's interesting.
Mm. Yeah.
I think people that own SaaS products certainly have to be looking at how they're going to incorporate AI into it. I mean, for
100%.
some of my customers that have SaaS products, um, their customers are saying, well, do you use AI in your SaaS product? It's like, what? say yes, we'll do a chatbot. You know, it's
It
almost
was,
like,
yeah, I think you have to adapt or die. I think a lot of the software I use, they now have, and they have from the beginning started to use AI within them, and it's something I use a lot now. So I think, if I was to go to a competitor that didn't have that, it would be so different.
yeah.
It would, yeah, and it's very much needed. I think the most impressive one I saw in the early days was when I went to do an online course. And instead of giving you those generic questions as a quiz at the end of the course, they actually tailored it to who you were based on
Uh-huh.
what they knew about you, like company, job title, all of that, which I thought was really good. So they created a really personalized experience with learning.
Hmm. Yeah. So another one of our customers that we built at 11 years, we've been working. It was a startup actually, and we built it on. Um, I can say the name of it. It's Sports Thread. It's a youth sports SaaS product that helps organizers with youth sports verify age ID and registration and games and the games, ticket sales for parents that go there, and all this stuff. A great product, and they're doing fine. It works great. But we were able to add an AI component to it because all youth sports kind of start at the same time, the season, and their customer service was just inundated with um, the parents that are trying to, what was my login, just simple use things. And because they had so much data over the 11 years of what they actually documented all this stuff, which is great in the answers. So that was good. So we had all this data, and it helped so much because they didn't have to, they weren't overburdened. The AI agent, and we built an agent to it that could actually um, not only talk to them, but immediately reset their password or do this kind of stuff where we didn't need the agent in there. So that really helped them. I think they told us it was like an 83% improvement on or what they
Yeah.
were able to do. Um, so that's an example of adding AI to a SaaS product for one of our clients that we built it for. So
Mm. That is a very good example, a relatable one as well. Like my kids play soccer. So at the start of the
oh,
year, we're all trying to register on probably a similar platform, but the Australian equivalent. And it was
yeah.
having all sorts of issues. Unfortunately, there was no AI built into it. So we just had
Uh-huh.
to wait it out,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately. Um, Coming back to people and culture at Saritasa, I'm
Uh-huh.
curious, what's your approach to hiring and retaining great talent?
So uh we 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 prefer to, well, first of all, promote internally. Um, and even for like our project management staff, we prefer to hire people that are smart and eager and green, that and teach them, as opposed to bringing somebody in that has all this experience in project management and everything, because we have found that doesn't work for us that well. Um, um, we're fighting them as opposed to so I think what we're looking for is just really bright, relatable. We have the criteria for like project managers. They need to be able to speak professionally and articulate what they're saying, right? And be smart and understand, what how to project management is. There's a lot going on there, right? And um, so we hire we like to hire juniors and mentor them up. Um, we find out pretty quickly either they like it, um, and then they stay on and then they can grow within the company, and we've been very successful with that. Or we find out or they find out very quickly that it's not for them. So we didn't waste too much time with that and not too much money either. And it gives them, when you hire somebody junior, it gives them a kind of a quicker career path. They can see their incomes go up pretty quickly. right? To the level of, okay, wow, you're really good. And so we could go up very quickly for them. So
Mm.
that has worked. Like I said, most of our people have been here for a long time.
I love that you said that because we do exactly the same thing, but we didn't always do it that way. So we
Yeah.
recently changed our hiring strategy. I think it was since COVID, actually. We would very much focus on hiring specialists in the field. So if you specialize in an area, fantastic, come and work for us. Um, and you're right, we did find that those people could sometimes be really close minded. They kind of had their set ways of doing things and they wouldn't adjust it to the way we were used to doing things. And it was, a bit of back and forward. It probably caused a little bit of friction and it delayed things getting done. We then started hiring juniors and mentoring them. And we created a bit of an academy program like this is what the next 5 years of your career could look like, which they really loved because, they could see a future. And what we found was that young people were just such quick learners. They were really fast at doing things. I forgot how fast young people could do things. They were faster than me.
Uh-huh.
And it was just incredible to watch. And yeah, they've been amazing. And when you do give them a career path and a potential future, they do stick around. They're quite happy to stay.
Yeah. So so we also do that for our development, our engineers, and we have offices in one, two, three, four offices overseas in different countries. And they're all employees of ours and part of our structure. But what we started doing, because hiring these skilled senior engineers, same problem. They wanted to do it our way, and or they wanted to do it their way, no matter what. A lot of friction. So what we started doing is running camps. We'd go to the local universities, to job fairs, and we'd have different camps, summer camp, winter camp for specialties for either mobile development or VR, or maybe it's PHP or Python, whatever it is. And they would have to come in and they'd have to apply and um, qualify to become into this class. And I think, I don't remember exactly because I don't run those, but we'd only like 5% of them we would allow. And then we'd have about 25 people, and the senior people would run these camps and have them program and everything. And then maybe one or two would get a job offer. And it was a constant stream of new talent that we could get, and really good talent. And it worked out better because these juniors, they grew up, so they got so much better with their mentors and everything, that they become very valuable very quickly. So yeah, we do that across the board. And we've hired like a director position for our creative department, and that was just,
Mm.
it's like, what are you doing? I mean, this is not the way we do things here, right? We hired you for your expertise, but there's so much tension. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so clever, actually, just creating a program and then you hire all the best talent. It also, it's so meaningful, you're training people in something and then you give them a job at the end of it. I think it just gives you much more meaning and purpose and just feels like you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the loyalty we get more loyalty that way. You hire a senior and maybe they don't quite like it, and they're worth this much, and they can go online and maybe go someplace else. There's no skin in the game with the junior. I mean, they work so hard to get this job, and then they're going to get raises faster. I mean, they feel lucky they can be here. They got the job at Google. We're not Google, but I
Yeah.
mean, but in some of these places we have it. I mean, we have a reputation that you want to work for Saritasa. So
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
it buys loyalty.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's hard to get that in this day and age, I believe.
Sure is, right. And we don't, anybody that we hire, it's a requirement to come into the office. I mean, we won't hire somebody new outside of our office locations because we need to see them. We need to be on them. I would feel very uncomfortable hiring somebody remote if I don't know their work ethic or anything. Tenured
Yeah.
people, we already know. We know their outcomes. It's no problem.
For sure. Nik, my last question for you. It's a
Sure.
tradition on this podcast. One that I ask every person is if you could go back in time to any age and give yourself one bit of advice, what would that be?
Gosh, I'm, it worries me a little bit because what if I did that and then I wouldn't be here? It's like the butterfly effect, right? Because I'm, I'm, I'm happy, I mean, I have a wife, 4 children, and I'm successful. And I got to be careful. What advice would I give?
Well, you might not
Um,
even follow it if you gave it to yourself back then.
Perhaps. Um, oh, I think, um, I think paying a little bit more, maybe paying a little bit more attention to academics. I was that. I got C's in high school and dropped out of college, and I really didn't. Um, yeah, I'm the football jock and the homecoming king and drinking on the weekends, and I didn't know school was important, and I think I could have learned. I was at the very beginning of internet. I mean, just in the very beginning, I have some, friends that were really into it, and you know, I, uh, I would have definitely been a different track for me. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you, I really like the ignorance a little bit because I, I leave the development stuff to. It's so hard to answer that question because, um, yeah, I
Even
wish I
if you
had
had
a better.
followed that academic route, you're successful now and you probably had way more fun in high school than most people.
Yeah, I did. And so that gave me the skills to be sociable because I'm on the business
And that's
driver
important in
end of
business.
this. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm on the very personable side of things. That's why I'm on this podcast and my CTO is not, or the other people are not, because they're so much smarter than me in so many ways. But it taught me some of the nuances of socialization and
Yeah.
even yeah, I I'll have to think about that some more. I don't have big regrets, so I don't know what that would be.
Mm.
Um, I guess I'm just a optimist, and when things go a little bit wrong, it happens for a reason. Like this whole AI thing, I don't know. I don't know the answer. No, many people don't know the answer. For a company like mine, you hear all the time that software developers are going to become obsolete, and you're not going to need that in coding. And I can see that that's wrong. Again, there's people are going to need people. I think when you go to a restaurant, I don't think you're going to be served by an Optimus robot. I think there's something about that waiter or waitress that makes that experience so great. And same with consulting. And I need to figure out, but what I would have told myself, um, it's a good question. Maybe I should have been prepared for
One to
that.
think about.
I will. Yeah,
But
I'll think about it.
you
If
did
if
raise a
something
really good
pops into
point
my
there.
head, I'll shoot you an email as a follow-up. I'll just let you know this popped into my head.
I'll add it in the show notes.
Yeah, that's good.
But you've raised a really good point. I mean, you mentioned how smart the people around you were, and I bet they did well at school. But one of the most important things in growing a business is the people skills. And
Uh-huh.
so, yeah, I think that's going to become increasingly more important as AI takes over. And you're right. I don't want a robot serving me. I'm much rather speak to a human.
Yeah, I don't mind the robot cleaning the house. I don't mind.
It's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but I'm sure my dog wants me to walk it and not the robot.
I don't think we should outsource that one. I love walking
Yeah, I
my
don't think we
dog.
should outsource that one either.
Thank
Well,
thank
maybe
you
it's a
so
good
much.
analogy on the code too. I think the code, I mean, what I see now, code making, I mean, it just it's just not the same yet. So we'll see.
No, no, but you're right. We don't know what's going to happen, and we just
But
need to
that's good.
remain. It
I
is
mean,
good.
I mean, you need the change. Wish I could see a little bit. I knew with the mobile that was coming because I was an Apple guy, and we changed some of our PHP and had them learn Xcode right away. And before the iPhone, before the App Store even opened, I said, build a couple apps. I want to submit them because I know I'm going to get a phone call. They're going to say, have you ever built an app before? It's like, how could we? They just opened. But my answer was yes. We did, and I had the experience. So some of those things you can see coming and how big they will be, but I don't have the clear vision yet.
Right. All we can do is remain optimistic and agile.
Yes, and technology will always be there, and everybody will need to use technology, and it will accelerate at even greater pace, and we're going to need smart people that can connect businesses with technology and the translators in between to make it work. And that was my opening thing, is why I created this. So I think those tenets still hold true.
Yeah. I think we're still going to need people in every industry, regardless of the way technology is evolving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Pleasure to have
Uh-huh.
you. Some really good insights there. And it's so wonderful to hear
Thank
your
you.
story.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It was fun.